All righty. Good morning. We are back for everybody who was waiting as we struggled through technical difficulties. Thank you. But yeah, we're back with Fluent and Chill in the morning. Chill, you were kind of talking about the Western Conference final game last
Hmm.
evening. So
Well,
if you
no
want
one
to kind of
heard
finish,
anything.
yes.
Let's
So
just be
finish out
straight.
that
No one
thought.
heard anything. So we want to talk about the NBA playoffs. We're starting in
Yes.
the West. All right. And
Yes.
Jay's
Yes.
gonna
Yes.
kick us off again.
Well,
Absolutely.
Can I just say this? 100% one, Haley, welcome to the team. Right. So it's
Thank
Fluent,
you.
which is me, Chill, which is Jay, and Haley's gonna be the and. I get that
And
keeps us separated.
yeah,
The
I'll
technical
take it.
difficulties were 100% my fault. So now, Jay, my man, take it away.
absolutely. But before we go any further, really quick, everybody knows who Tone is. Everybody knows who I am. Haley, tell us who you are.
Oh,
Well, currently I am a college student. I am a worker, but I am also a sports enthusiast, and I do
Hmm.
have a TikTok on right currently. I mean, I post there a little bit, but I'm
Hmm.
trying to kind of move on and do a little bit more podcasting. So working with you guys is going to be so much fun, not only to be a mediator, but also just a learner. And I'm
Yeah.
really excited to just kind of hear your guys' thoughts.
Hmm.
Um, but yes, and most importantly, over all of that, I am a Warriors fan. So this is a good time of the season for me.
Since we on
I'm
the
loving life.
since we on the subject of the Warriors, what I saw last night from the Golden State Warriors was a championship team. That's what I saw last night from them. I saw a team that
Mm.
has it together. I saw a team with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson who didn't shoot the basketball very well early, but I think their defense. I think that it generated a lot of their offense. We're talking about a Golden State Warriors team who out rebounded Dallas. Just on the defensive glass, they out rebounded them by almost 20. That's a lot of one and dones, right? So with a lot of one and dones, where Dallas is shooting the basketball on the long ball line and they shooting the basketball at the basket. So there's nothing in between. So with them shooting the long ball like they were shooting it at the rate they were shooting it, which was at 23%, they really got nothing. The Golden State Warriors were able to speed the game up and get a lot of what they wanted. And like I said before, every time I see Andrew Wiggins, he reminds me of that crumpled up $20 bill in the dryer or that extra $300 that you didn't realize that you had, and it's just a pleasant surprise because
Recording in progress.
he gives you those things that you didn't have. And once you get that from him, I think that the Golden State Warriors are going to do a really good job at continuing this. I'm looking at a team that
Mm.
I don't think this is going to be a short series. No, I think this could be a 6-game series, but I like what I saw from Golden State yesterday.
well, how could you not like what you saw? They
Mhm.
completely dominated the Mavericks. The problem is for the Warriors fans is that the one thing we've seen from Dallas so far this playoff run is one, they're very resilient,
Mhm.
and two, they start to figure out what works for them. Right?
Mhm.
Like I feel like every game one, Dallas looked a little out of sorts. Then they started to kind of, oh, hold on, this is what works. Let's do more of that. Right?
Mhm.
Jason Kidd has really impressed me. Like, I mean,
Mm.
really impressed me as a head coach, where I see his in-game adjustments, and some of them are really small, some of them are major, but he really is like, oh, this, like a lot of times I feel like I've seen coaches, and Jay Haley probably both have seen this, where, hey, we're putting it into our big man and he's dominating. And for some reason we stop and we just start shooting a bunch of threes. And I'm
Mhm.
like, why would they do that? And now they're losing because they're missing. I'm like, why would they change that philosophy if it was working? Jason Kidd's been really good at saying, oh, this is working. Let's do more of that. Until they can stop me, let's do more of that. So as good as Warriors fans are feeling right now, Jay always says this, the series doesn't start until a road team wins. So all the Warriors did,
Mm.
to their credit, was what they were supposed to do. Go out and get a win at home.
Mhm.
It was, they held Luke, I think, to 20, right?
Mhm.
He had a bad shooting night, or sorry, he had 7 turnovers, I think. So it wasn't typical Luka. You're not going to get 20 points and 7 turnovers from Luka, I think, on a consistent basis. So I like the series going. I like the series going 6-7 games, which is good
Mhm.
because I love this matchup.
Absolutely. Now, when I look at this team, also, Tone, that if you want to rewind the clock back to the 1920 season, your Los Angeles Lakers, you play the Trailblazers in round one. What happens? You lose game one, mop the floor with them dudes in the next 4 games. You play the Houston Rockets, lose game one, mop them dudes in the next 4 games. You play the Denver Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals, lose game one, You proceed to mock them dudes out of the playoffs. Why? Because it was almost like you kind of just were feeling these guys out. Now, does that mean that the Dallas Mavericks are going to completely figure out Golden State? I'm not going to say that because I'm looking at a vet unit in Golden State that they basically have seen whatever you want to throw at them. They've seen that. The thing that I really concern myself with a lot is that Steph Curry and Klay Thompson have not been shooting the ball well throughout these playoffs. Steph Curry hasn't been the same since he broke that record in New York. He has not been the same. He's been a guy who's shooting around 41 to 43% for the season. So he hasn't been that guy. Klay Thompson, he went 0 for 5 in the first half. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that they were chasing Reggie Bullock. He was chasing Finney Smith. He was chasing those guys off the long ball line. So I'm not going to say that, like I said, I'm not going to say that this series is going to be quick work, but I think that Dallas adjusts, and I think that they make a lot of adjustments, and I think that we're going to see a more competitive series going forward.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with both of you. And just a quick shout out to Travis. He sent us a tip and a question. How does the Heat look? Does Jimmy still have a bad contract?
Yeah. Our first super chat, Travis Lindsay. All right. So that's perfect timing, right? Because we're gonna talk about the next series.
Mm-hmm.
So Jay, you want to take it first? How the Heat look? Jimmy still have a bad contract? Let me say, I don't think Jimmy ever had a bad contract. I love Jimmy Butler.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the teams that were the problem. I don't think it was ever Jimmy.
Well, the first question that needs to be answered is what was the problem with Jimmy in these other places? What was the problem in Minnesota? The problem in Minnesota was he was too much for them, even though Cat may be what he needed. Cat may be tougher today if Jimmy Butler was able to stick around. Well, what happened in Philadelphia? I think Embiid and Ben Simmons were what Jimmy needed, but they actually got off of that. Now, remember, Minnesota, that was the first time they had been to the playoffs when they had Jimmy Butler in 15 years. So this same thing what happens in Philadelphia. They lose in Game 7 in overtime on a buzzer beater. And they clearly are close, but then they decide to go in a different direction. So no, that contract is not bad. Jimmy Butler, the problem that people have with Jimmy Butler isn't a super duper athlete. Jimmy Butler doesn't have a ridiculous skill set. He's not blowing you away offensively, but he gets it done. And Jimmy Butler has a will about him that I am not going to stop. I am going to keep pounding on you. And that's what I saw against Jason Tatum. It looked like Jason Tatum almost, and you know how I feel about Jason Tatum, Tom. He looked like he withered at the end, where almost like he looked like it almost looked like he did wither. Absolutely.
You're such a nice guy. Just call it what it is. Jimmy Butler is Michael Jordan. Jimmy Butler is Isaiah Thomas. Jimmy Butler is Larry Bird. He is going to call you out when you don't work. He's Kobe Bryant. He's going to call you out when you don't work hard. He's going to punch you in the face if you act up or talk slick. And today's players, for the most part, are a little soft, and they don't like it. And he's the problem. Was he the problem in Chicago? Because once he left, they stunk. Was he the problem in Minnesota? Because once he left, they stunk. Was he the problem in Philadelphia? Because once he left, they got worse. They didn't stink, right? And then he goes to Miami. He ends up with an organization where it's run by Pat Riley. We know what Pat Riley did. We know how tough his teams have been kind of after he left LA. Even those LA teams, I know it was Showtime, but go watch. They weren't soft. Kareem would punch you in the face. Magic would elbow you in the gut. Kurt Rambis would take a clothesline and then come back at you. Like, it's not like they were even soft. So he goes to an organization that has that same kind of mentality where they have guys like Udonis Haslem who just will fight you. They bring in a PJ Tucker who will fight you. They bring in Kyle Lowry who will stand there and take a charge from a 300-pound center. I don't know how he does it. So it's just he needed to hit that situation that suited him. And I think you're right. But the rest of the stuff, he's not sexy. He's not dunking over people. He's not taking step back threes. He just goes and works hard. And I appreciate that. However.
Yeah. Well, to back that up, Travis Lindsay also added, I don't believe Jimmy's contract was bad. I believe Shaq said it was. Jimmy has that dog about him, which is basically kind of backing up what you just said.
Exactly. Has that dog about him.
It's not beautiful.
Perfect.
yeah, it's not beautiful, it's not pretty, but it's so intense and it's so fierce and aggressive. So
if you're going to win a
wow.
chip, you need to have someone or some of your players need to have that dog. Jay and I always talk about the dirty work guys.
Yes.
They don't get all the fanfare. Now Jimmy Butler's more than a dirty work guy, but if you don't have that, it's tough because.
Well, I got a question though, because when I look at Jimmy Butler and I look at what he's doing, Tony, it's the second time in 3 years that the Heat are in the Eastern Conference Championship. If he gets this crew to the NBA Finals, we got to start having a different conversation about Jimmy Butler.
I've already started. I've told you that. I've always been very high on Jimmy Butler. I haven't
been high on him, but I have seen him better than a lot of guys that they have had that they've had. It wasn't that long ago that we were having a conversation of who the best two guard in the game was between him and Klay Thompson. And I felt like the only thing Klay did better than him was shoot the long ball. That was the only thing. That was the only thing I thought Klay did better than him. I thought he did everything else better than Klay. But if he could get them to the finals for the second time in 3 years, then now we got to start talking about him in a different way. We clearly have to start talking about him in a different way. Does that mean that they have to win it? Well, that would be great. But to get them to the finals, we got to start having a different conversation about buckets.
Absolutely, I agree.
Can Boston turn it around?
It's only game
one. Boston is this going to be a quick series for Miami?
Absolutely not, Tone. I said to you already, I thought that the Milwaukee Bucks, Boston Celtic winner wins the Eastern Conference Championship. And the reason why I felt like that is because I'm looking at a Milwaukee team and Boston is looking at Miami going, we had to deal with Giannis. There's no way that we're going to have to deal with anybody tougher than Giannis. Now, don't get me wrong. Buckets went for 40, but is he going to go for 40 every night? I watched them dudes stage off an elimination game where Jason Tatum went for 46 on the road. So I know that there's that toughness there. Now, their dirty work guy and Al Horford and Marcus Smart was out the lineup. So that hurt them. And I think that when they get those guys back, I think that this is going to be a different series. I think this is going to be a different game. Add that to the fact that getting Robert Williams back into the lineup, because now I got another rim protector. I got my elite rebounder. Once they get those guys in the fold, I think that they'll be right back in this series. Because once again, Tone, like I told you, the series doesn't start until a home team loses. So I'm not saying, Miami is gonna. No, all you did was hold serve. That was it. You didn't do anything special.
Okay.
All right. Well, we do have a one-on-one matchup. Do you want to kind of explain that, Fluent?
Yeah. So Jay and I kind of put it out there and said, listen, we want to do this all-time greatest. So let me go back a step. We took Dominic. We got a shout out. Dominic gave us the top 5, starting 5, and a sub for every team in the NBA, and we did a tournament and whittled it down to the greatest franchise in terms of their players at their peak. We did a full tournament.
We found out there was a lot better teams. We found out that there were teams that were a lot better than what we thought too.
Yeah, there was some, like when you look back, you forget how many great players in their prime played in certain places, and it was fun. Yeah. And as we were doing it though, of course, as you're talking about a team, well, you talk about matchups. And so we'd be saying, okay, like for example, we had the Bucks and the Lakers, and we're like, okay, so you got Bucks Kareem versus Laker Kareem, right? How do those guys match up? And they're like, well, we should probably do a one-on-one matchup. Ooh. And so we reached out and said, okay, give us your best players. So we took the top 20. We, through ourselves and through voting, whatever, we have the top 20. And so now we're gonna do it's gonna be tough with 20, but we'll figure it out. One, because it's 1 versus 20, there's going to be some weird matchups in rounds 2, but we'll figure it out. So we have the top 20 teams. I don't know if JD, if he's listening, if he can pull that screen up. And we're gonna go through round 1 of the top 20. There it is. So I'll let you call it out, and then I guess we'll debate and see who wins.
All right, there's some good ones on here. Some that I'm interested to hear. So let's start off with Jordan and English. If you want to start, Jay.
Well, Michael Jordan is the greatest scorer that I've ever seen. Mike had a basic game. He's the most fundamentally sound guy, but he was the most ridiculous athlete. And I think that he runs circles around Alex English. Even though Alex English, who is one of the most underrated scorers in NBA history, he led the whole entire decade of the 80s in scoring. But I think Jordan's mid-range,
Can you not overlook that? I don't mean to interrupt, but can you not overlook that? Because people, I don't
No,
even,
that's a
is
big
Alex
thing.
English even in the top 75? Did he
No,
make
he
the
is
top
not.
75?
Not the top
What a
50.
travesty. My man led the league in scoring. I want to say it again for people who didn't hear. He led the league in scoring for the entire decade of the 80s.
Nobody
That was a
scored more
decade
points.
that had, Magic, Bird, Olajuwon, Jordan, Wilkins, Drexler. Like the amount of people. Did I say? I don't even know if I said Gervin.
You didn't say
like,
Gervin, no.
Gervin. The amount of players and talent of scorers, and he, Alex English, led them all for that decade. That's insane.
And we don't even talk about it. We don't even talk about it. Adrian Dantley was in that decade, and none of them dudes scored more points than Alex English. None of them dudes did. But I think that Alex English, no, we don't. We don't even talk about it. I think that he'd have a really tough time with Jordan one-on-one, because I'm looking at a dude in Jordan who he was so good in the mid-range. Jordan was so good at finishing at the basket. Jordan's skill set, I think it was a little better. I think it was better than Alex English. I think athletically he was better. I think that Alex English would have a real tough time with him, and I think that he'd beat him one-on-one.
Alec, it's unfortunate for English that he finished 20th in the polls, because I think almost there's a number of players that I think he would beat. That being said, his scoring is great, but Jordan's is better. His defense ain't that great, and Jordan's is significantly better. So that's where I think is going to be the difference. Is I think Alex English will score. The problem is he just won't score enough. So yeah, so I'm with you. I got Jordan now.
And he won't be able to stop Jordan from scoring either. That's the
that's what I'm saying. His defense,
and I think Jordan could slow him down.
Yeah. And let me be clear. I want to start this. I should have said this before we started. There is no NBA player in the history of the NBA that can completely shut down, when I'm talking greats, that can completely shut down any NBA great offensive player. So when I hear the word shut down, I cringe. I'm like, slow down, maybe, make difficult. You ain't shutting down anybody.
No.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you put anyone up against Jordan, it's gonna be tough. So,
yeah.
Okay, moving on. We have Kobe and Wade. Ooh.
I love this one.
I do too, Tone. And
you
know why I love this
top
one?
5 shooting guards all time.
Absolutely, I love this one. Because what I think about when I was in college, and there was the George Drexler debate. And as good as Drex was, I wasn't a big Drexler fan. I was a huge Drex fan. He wasn't 23 good though. As good as he wasn't 23 good. And when I think about Dwayne Wade, as awesome as he was as a one-on-one player, he wasn't 24 good. I think that we're talking about two guys who are elite defensive players, but I think that Kobe, his ability in the mid-range was better. His skill set and getting open, right? His ability to create space. Wade was more of a downhill guy. Kobe was more in the mid-range where he could do it. Kobe could also shoot the long ball, and he could basically spread Dwayne Wade out a little bit more. And he could slow Dwayne Wade down. I think Wade would have a really difficult time because Kobe's a better offensive player than him, and I think Kobe would beat him one-on-one.
Do you know who is the number 1 shooting guard when it comes to blocks?
Dwayne Wade.
I think he would give. Now there's a height advantage there too, right? I think Dwayne Wade's like 6'3", Kobe's 6'6". Dwayne Wade would give him all he could handle from the, when he especially if Kobe gets into one of those moods where I'm just going to shoot. Right, I think that would give him. Now, here's where I think what happens. If I were to do like, what is that, Bleacher Report that does those the sucks people into that weird portal thing. I'd see like I see Wade taking the early lead, and Kobe kind of shooting, and then Kobe finally getting into that Mamba mentality. He goes, forget this. He'll just take him in the post, fade away, and I don't care that he's leads the NBA in blocks for a shooting guard all time. You can't block that fadeaway, not very often. And so I think then Kobe gets it in the end. But that is one that there's a few, obviously, but that is one that I'll pay money to watch those two. Not today. I would have paid. Sorry, Kobe. But you know where my allegiance lies. But I would pay to watch that matchup. That would be fun. That'd be fun to watch. That would be awesome. Dwayne Wade. Yes, my apologies. Travis Lindsay corrected us. Dwayne Wade is 6'4". he's his favorite shooting guard of all time. So we'll try and get Travis. Kobe's my favorite all time. So maybe Travis and I'll have a one-on-one to replicate what we can't see from Dwayne and Kobe.
Yeah, that one was a bit of a mixed bag. Most people did agree with Kobe, but we got to give.
You got to give Wade his due. You make it difficult. Yeah, you make it difficult.
Absolutely. So our third matchup is Durant and Robertson, which is another great one. And Fluent, if you want to start off with this one.
Yeah, people don't give credit to the Big O on how good he was offensively. Like, he was tough. He could score. However, right, Mr. Triple-Double before the new Mr. Triple-Double. The problem is Oscar was what, 6'5"?
Yeah.
Durant's a solid, like, I know he lies and tries to say he's 6'9". That man's 7 foot. If he's an inch, he's 7 foot. And so I feel like Oscar's greatest strength was still his passing and his playmaking and his ability to lead a team. Not that he couldn't score. He could score. He could score one-on-one. But I just think Durant is so versatile. This is what I give him the most credit for. I always fight with people. I say, stop saying he's the greatest scorer of all time, because that's debatable. Most versatile scorer of all time, I'm not going to argue with you, because he will pull up and shoot a three over Oscar. There's nothing he can do about it. He can post him up. He can shoot from the mid-range. And when he wants to, it's rare, but when he wants to, he can play some defense. And with that length, right, like, this would be really hard for Oscar to score on that much height and those long, crazy, long-ass arms. So of the matchup so far, I think this is the one that's kind of I don't want to say a blowout, but I think it's the one that has the biggest gap in terms of the winner. And I think it's KD. I don't want to say, easy. I'll say it. I think it's Durant easy.
Well, we'll start the conversation, Tone, with nobody really talks about the fact that Oscar for 8 years averaged 30 a game.
Oh, and I said he can score. He can score.
He averaged 30 a game for 8 years. I know that sounds nuts, but this is when Jerry West was running around, Hal Greer and Elgin Baylor, and these guys was running around. He averaged 30 a game against these dudes. So with that being said, the flip side to that is everything you do, I do it, and I'm 6 inches taller than you. So that's the difference right there. That's the difference right there. And I love Oscar Robertson. I'm a huge Oscar Robertson fan. I think he's a top 15 player all time. But in terms of a skill set, in terms of separation, athleticism, even though Oscar was a great athlete, but in terms of those other things, ball handling, I think KD blows him away.
Listen, my 8-year-old's a great shooter, but I got 2 feet on him. I'm blocking every one. And I scream out rejected as I do it. But
get it out of here.
That's another story.
Get that out of here.
Get that garbage out of here.
Get it out of here.
Shout out to Uncle Jack Armstrong. Get that garbage out of here. Yes.
And everybody pretty much agreed with it.
I think Durant's the easy pick on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Next we have 2Bs, Bird and Baylor.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm a huge Elgin Baylor fan, which I wasn't initially, because I get a lot of young people who talk to me about, I talked to a lot of young people about when I was a kid, I wish you would tell me that Dominique Wilkins was better than Elgin Baylor, until I started doing some homework as I got older and realized that Elgin Baylor was awesome. Oh my God. I had to do some homework and find out how awesome this dude was. But Bird was just so cerebral, right? Bird wasn't the greatest athlete. Bird wasn't the fastest. He wasn't the strongest. But he was so cerebral. And Bird knew how to pick his spots. Bird was an exceptional ball handler. Bird at 6'9", Elgin at 6'6". Now, don't get me wrong. Just because you're bigger, that doesn't always mean that you're better, right? Just because you're bigger. But in this particular situation, I look at Bird as a one-on-one player and how good he was and how smart he was. I give him the edge on Elgin Baylor.
You always remind me of this. Baylor averaged almost 40 and 20 for a season while he was serving in the military on weekends.
I had a weekend gig. I can't come to practice today.
I can't go to practice. I got to go serve our country. And then on a Tuesday, he dropped 40 and 20.
I'm good for that.
And as a Laker fan, listen, I want to give every Laker the benefit of the doubt in every situation, because Baylor, if Baylor wins, this is why people, when they say winning's not important, I'm like, it is. Because if Baylor won half of the finals that he went to, and he went to, I believe, 8, and he lost all of them, If he's 4-4, and now we're looking at a guy who's, dropping 40 and 20 and has 4 rings, we're having a different conversation about him. When it comes to one-on-one, I think athletically he would give Bird all he can handle. But at the end of the day, Bird would have the ability to shoot, keep him honest, right? He could shoot a 3, take him down low and post him up. He's going to probably be in Baylor's head. Now, I don't know enough about Baylor to say how he was mentally tough, but I know Bird got Dr. J to punch him. And you always say this, Dr. J is a gentleman. He's the most nice, respectable guy. And Bird must have said something to get Dr. J to punch him. So I think Bird is that weird cross of like Kevin Durant shooting ability with Dennis Rodman in your head.
Yes.
Right. And then Jordan trash talk.
Yes.
Like imagine putting those 3 things together.
I still haven't gotten a satisfactory answer, Tone. I want to know what he said to Doc to make Doc punch him in the face. What did he say to him? Doc is the most mild-mannered gentleman professional basketball player that I've ever seen at an elite level. Bird punched him in the face. I'm thinking, what? What could he have possibly said to Bird? Unbelievable.
So
unbelievable.
So that being said, when it comes to one-on-one, like I truly believe half of a one-on-one is getting in your opponent's head.
Yep.
And where all the other stuff, I say athleticism goes to Baylor, overall scoring goes to Baylor, but shooting goes to Bird. In your head is Bird. So I'm taking I can't pick a Celtic over a Laker. Okay, let me.
You have to do it. Do it, Tone. Do it, Tone. Get
all
that.
Right.
Haley, Tone is a homer. Hold him to it, Haley. He's a homer. Tone is the ultimate Laker homer. Don't let him off the hook with that. Do not.
That might be my cue to head out today. No, just kidding.
Oh, that's your job. All right. So yes, okay. I'm taking Bird.
Jay, we are going to start with you on this next one. Iverson and Griffin. Let me know what you're thinking. And yeah.
I remember the first time I saw Allen Iverson with that left to right crossover, and I was visibly worried because I thought to myself, that looks dangerous. If you get close to that, you could get hurt. So you might want to.
Can I interrupt you? Can I interrupt you and tell you? I had to guard him twice. Remember, I told you this in the exhibition game. Twice. Yep. The first time, he dribbled it into my hand. Remember, I think I've told you this. He dribbled it to my hand, and I took the credit for the steal. But I'll be honest, my hand was just there, and he dribbled it. So I stole the ball off. Time 2, I rolled my ankle. He crossed me up like nobody's been. I'm not embarrassed to say it because he's crossed up better players than me. And I'm telling you, I was just like, I was that guy. Like, thank God there was no like YouTube and videos back then because that meme of me going would be everywhere. When I first saw that, Tone, that's the first thing there was a very much look of concern for other guys because I'm thinking, you could get hurt if you get too close to that. That looks like that's like radioactive. Do not get close to that. I didn't even see him. I looked back and he was dunking the ball. I didn't even see him go by.
You going this way, he's going this way. So I'm thinking, and Iverson didn't have a great mid-range game, right? But going to the basket, he was one of the better finishers. He was one of the better guys who created space. But when I look at George Gervin at 6'8", George Gervin was a great transition player. Yeah. George Gervin was good in the one-on-one, but he was a great transition player too. I mean, he got that from the ABA. So when I think about George Gervin in the one-on-one, I think Iverson might have been better.
And that's the thing that for me, I think if they were playing a full court game, it's a different conversation because Gervin's getting out, he's running, he's finger rolling, like. But when you shorten that court down, you make it a half court game. A lot of players are very different in transition than they are in the half court. So I'm for the sake of time, I'm not going to go into a long thing about it. I'm going to Iverson.
And for the most part, the chat agrees with us. That's tough though. But okay, moving on to matchup number 6, Mcgrady and Dirk. Take it away, Fluent.
Mcgrady and Dirk. Wow. Oh man, I want to say Dirk so bad because like his mid range, he's taking one dribble pop. But Mcgrady, again, we're taking them at their best. So it's not hobbled, broken down Mcgrady. It's at his best. He's jumping over Dirk. He's blocking Dirk. He's blowing by Dirk with one step and a dunk. He could shoot as well. We forget there was that season where he averaged 30 some odd points and it was He shot 40% from three. Like at his absolute best, McGrady's, I think, just athleticism, although Dirk is probably a better shooter. I don't know how he stays with McGrady's first step. That's my only issue. So like I think it's close. I think if McGrady gets if again, this is everybody. If Dirk gets hot, McGrady might be in trouble. But I think he's another underrated defender because of, again, his length, right? He's what, 6'7", 6'8". He's got long arms, lightning quick. I'm gonna go with McGrady.
Well, the first thing I want to start with is I've seen Tracy McGrady. He's every inch of 6'9". There's nothing 6'7" or 6'8". He's every bit of 6'9". Every inch of 6'9". That's Tracy McGrady. Number two, Dirk Nowitzki. And when it comes to athleticism, Tone, I don't think it's close. It's not even.
No, it's not close. Yeah,
Tracy McGrady blows him out of the water. But Dirk, what he did was he created a shot that's so efficient that he sets up all the other things that he does offensively. So that one shot that he created would make it so much more difficult for you to guard all the other stuff because I'm so good at this right here. Now, when I think about Tracy McGrady and his ability to get to the basket and in terms of his athleticism, I don't think it's matched. But the problem is that Tracy McGrady in the mid-range and in the long ball, he's not nearly as good as Dirk was. No. So if Dirk could keep the ball away from him and score more, I think that he's got a shot. But in the end, in terms of if I'm going off athleticism, it would be Tracy McGrady. But I think that Dirk wins in the one-on-one against Tracy McGrady.
You got Dirk. All right, so the chat will have to break. Actually, Haley, no, not the chat. Haley, you got to break the tie.
Ooh.
While you think about it, because I want to just, Travis Lindsay sent us a super chat. Are we playing Make It, Take It? Yeah, that's
right. That's what one-on-one is.
Well, that's one-on-one. You make it, you take 100%.
Make it, take it.
Yeah. So,
and he also
Haley,
said, Kobe said it best. Pete Grady is a 6'9" Kobe. So
yeah, fair.
I have to agree with you, Fluent. I think that obviously when it comes to wait. I think when it comes to like athleticism, I think that he would obviously take that category, but overall one-on-one matchup, it's got to be Dirk. It has to be Dirk.
All right.
It has to be.
Well, Jordan says Dirk is the GOAT. So when peak Dirk is the GOAT, so I guess we
well,
can argue with that. He's going to shut us down.
He's our tiebreaker. Right. Yep. Okay. Here we go. Anthony and Harden. Interesting.
Ooh. Oh, I love this. I'm listening, Tom, but I love this.
I have to go first. Man,
I love this.
Yes, you do.
I was I'm going through the top 75 and I'm breaking down every player kind of, quickly, 1 minute TikTok and kind of saying, here's, the good, the bad, the ugly. Should he be higher? Should he be lower? Should he even be in the top 75? And what I do before I do that little video is I go into their numbers and I look and I, go back and look at some game film and whatever. Just, I want to make sure I remember properly because I'm looking at James Harden today and I'm thinking kind of out of shape, he's right now, right? And then I go back and I see, what was a good passer? Yeah, he averaged like 11 assists a game. Oh yeah, he averaged like 36 points a game. And oh yeah, he can shoot from anywhere on the court. He's like a bulldog, like charging you when he drives the lane and pushes you out of the way with his beard and lays it up. And I'm like, man, I've got, like a lot of people, I forgot how good he was at his best because I'm seeing him now. And I always say to people, don't look at, Charles Barkley and Shaq, 400 pounds sitting on the TNT desk. That's not who they were as players. No. And I'm like, I'm falling into that trap. So he can shoot from anywhere. The problem is, I don't know that there's a more one-on-one offensively gifted player I have ever seen than Carmelo Anthony. I can knock his game a million times to Sunday. I can't say shit about his offensive game.
This ain't even close to me.
So Carmelo, again, he's got the size. He could do everything that Harden does from a shooting perspective. Plus, he could post him up. Yeah, it's Melo for me.
This ain't close for me, Tony. And James Harden kind of changed the game with his step back and all of that good stuff. I'm a huge fan of guys who get right to it. They don't waste a lot of time. And it doesn't help that James Harden, even though Melo isn't that good defensively, James Harden is way worse. way worse than him defensively. It's not even close. And Carmelo Anthony doesn't waste any time. You don't see a lot of wasted movement with him. He gets right to it. I think he would destroy James Harden in a one-on-one.
Listen, Melo was made for what? Like if the NBA was one-on-one, Melo would be a champ. Like that's how he plays anyways. You give him the ball and you're not going to see it again. So that's
his
Melo.
game.
He always plays one-on-one. Sometimes he plays one-on-3. So
Yeah.
I'm Melo.
Okay, so we're both taking
we're
Melo.
both on Melo.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Good. I was worried there for a second. Okay. All right, we got Kyrie and Wilkins up next. If you wanna start with that, Chill.
Yeah, you start with that.
Well, when I think about a guy who you think was chasing Jordan all of them years in the 80s for the scoring championship. You know, Jordan was averaging 35, Wilkins was averaging 31. You know, Jordan was averaging 32, Dominique was averaging 29. You know, Dominique had a money mid-range game. Dominique was awesome in transition, right? Dominique Wilkins was great going to the basket. I think Kyrie Irving would have a very difficult time dealing with him at 6'8". Now, when I think about Kyrie Irving and his ability to handle the basketball and his skill set, man, this would very well be like if we play into 11, it'd be 11-10. It wouldn't be like 11-2. No, it'd be 11-10. But when I think about one-on-one, I think Dominique would overpower. I think he would overpower Kyrie Irving, no doubt about that. And I think he's a better defender, so it wouldn't be one of to make it take it. Like Dominique would get the ball back, and I just think he would overpower Kyrie Irving. In terms of a skill set, it's not close, but I think he would overpower Kyrie Irving.
So you're taking
Dominique Wilkins. He would just shoot over him all day long.
So here's the thing. Sometimes when we talk about, teams or players playing in different eras, I always say, well, they'd adapt to the style of play.
Mm-hmm.
In this situation, you have no time to adapt. You're literally being thrown into an arena and you're going to have to play.
Right.
And everything you said was true. Like, I think of Jordan's 10 scoring titles, I think Dominique finished second to him 6 times. Right? Like, if Jordan didn't exist, he would have 6 scoring titles. Right. He must hate him more than anybody else.
Right.
Or maybe Patrick Ewing. But anyways, so I'm just like, okay, so yeah, I know Dominique can score. Listen, I know he's athletic. Like, he's a human highlight reel for a reason. Can you imagine him windmilling it on Kyrie? It would knock him right off of the flat earth. The problem that I'm seeing is that ain't nobody handled the ball that Dominique had to cover the way Kyrie, like, it's like on a yo-yo. Yeah. And he can finish with his right. He can finish with his left. Like, can Dominique's athleticism and jumping ability overcome, him being a step behind Kyrie off of every possession? Right. The other part is, look, a lot of one-on-one. And you always say you love playing one-on-one. I hated playing one-on-one because I like, I'm a passer, and a shoot. I'm gonna come off a screen and shoot. I can't come off a screen on one-on-one. You have to have the ability to shoot. You can't just go to the bucket every time. Kyrie's a significantly better shooter than Dominic.
Yes, he is. Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna say if it's take it or make it, I think Kyrie has enough in his bag to keep Dominique off balance, because he's gonna blow by him once, and now Dominique's gonna be on his heels a little bit, where he's gonna now be able to step back and shoot. So I'm actually going with Kyrie.
All right. Okay.
All right.
Now it's only if he plays full time. Like, he can't only play half the game.
Wait a minute, you can't come in the game. All right, but it's 5-4, and then
I need to take a break.
Yeah, no, Herb, it doesn't work that way.
Playoffs.
No, it doesn't work that way, Herb. Which one is it, brother?
All right, Haley, this is why you're here.
Yes, sir. We have 2 more to go.
No, we have a tie break.
Oh. I don't know too much about Wilkins. Like, I don't have a great grasp on his career, so I'm gonna have to opt out. Although the chat could kind of fill in for us, be that tiebreaker.
Think about Carmelo Anthony. Think about Carmelo Anthony if he was more athletic. That's Dominique Wilkins. If Carmelo Anthony was a better athlete.
Let's see how good JD is. JD, can you shoot up a poll real quick? Dominique. Dominique. All right, but you get the pick. I put JD on the spot, which isn't fair. So you going? Are you going? Okay, you going Dominique or you going Kyrie? Oh, look at that, man. JD's the man. I don't know if you can see that. That
quick.
poll is up quick.
Boom.
We already got 6 votes in. Let's see.
Boom.
Ooh, Kyrie's leading 62-39.
Mhm.
There you go. So the chat 65 to 35. The chat's overwhelmingly has
Kyrie over Dominique.
With 29 votes in, Kyrie's up 72% to 28%.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sway your opinion, Haley?
It makes me want to go watch highlights and familiarize myself, and then I'll make my own decision. We'll see what happens.
Go watch some Atlanta Hawk. Go watch some Atlanta Hawk games. Don't watch Dominique. Where did he play? He was was it Orlando? Where did he play after?
San Antonio.
Yeah, don't go look at those. Don't look at that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's worse than Patrick Ewing
Wilkins.
as a Magic. Yeah, it's not good.
Okay, so Atlanta Wilkins.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so the one that everyone in the chat has been asking for, Mr. LeBron James and Stephen Curry.
Oof.
I don't know how this matchup ended here, but here we are.
It was honestly based on.
I'm gonna
So
cover my ears.
let me just rephrase everybody. It was based on votes. Everybody got ranked 1 to 20, and then we just did 1 versus 20, 2 versus 19.
And here we are. All right, you want to take it away, Fluent?
Oh man, you might want to plug your ears because you might not talk to me ever again.
I'm prepared. Let's go.
Listen, I love Steph Curry. I love Steph Curry. He's the greatest 3-point shooter, and you know, Jay will tell you, I don't even rank active players ever. So when I say something like this, what I'm about to say, it's the highest praise that I can give. He is the greatest 3-point shooter in the history of the NBA. Like, and it's just bar none. He's there.
In the 75-year history of the
75-year history, there's never been a better shooter than him. And keep in mind, I was fortunate. I sat at Raptors game and got to see him as a middle schooler shooting threes on the Raptors court. And I was like, yo, that kid's good. I didn't know he was going to be that good. Right? We all just, hey, it's Dell's kid, right? Of course he's going to shoot threes because Dell Curry shoots three. That being said, unless LeBron's letting him shoot logo threes and not playing any D on him at all, he is just too big. He is too strong. If LeBron gets the ball, I don't believe Curry gets the ball back. So Curry, if they're playing to 11, Curry would have to hit 11 straight logo threes, or else it's over, right? Because once LeBron got the ball, he doesn't give it back. So I think it still would be fun to watch Curry trying to dribble past him, and LeBron like does LeBron kind of give him a couple and then kind of do one of those Duke slap the ground, be like, now I'm going to play some defense on you, and then it's just. Yeah, so it's LeBron, and I feel a little bit sorry that Curry got this matchup in the first round because it's the worst possible one for him.
The thing that I want you guys to remember is don't look at today LeBron James.
Right.
We got to go back to LeBron James when he was developing his mid-range. LeBron James when his ball handling got better, when his mid-range got better. He's arguably the best finisher in the history of the game. He's got one of the best long balls in the history of the game. He's one of the better ball handlers. And in fact, add that to the fact that this guy as a defender is bigger than Steph Curry. So I think Steph Curry would, unless Steph Curry, Steph Curry could put you on skates. He absolutely could do that. But James would have such a difficult time handling James because James wouldn't let him off the hook just shooting the long ball. No, James would absolutely go after him and go after him early and often. So I think James is a better one-on-one player.
Yeah, and just listen. There's no help defense coming. You're not taking a charge. This is one-on-one. Like it's
none.
I have to read you Jordan's comment because I think it's hilarious. Jay, we got to get you seeing the chat here. LeBron is sitting Steph in a high chair and feeding him chopped up hot dogs. Probably pretty accurate. All right.
Okay, and our very last one, Kareem and Hakeem. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Well, I get googly-eyed talking about Olajuwon. That's just I'm one of the biggest Olajuwon fans that you'd ever imagine. I'm his box work, his footwork, his mid-range. Olajuwon was phenomenal. But when I think about that, what I think about is I think about a gunfight. You guys could have a bunch of guns. This guy got one gun, and he got rid of everybody. Jabbar had one shot. Stop this and you stop me. He played 20 years. Nobody scored more points in the history of the NBA than him. Nobody. So if you can't stop this one thing that I do, that I'm extremely efficient at, then I got to go with Jabbar.
When you think of team basketball, right, and you're like, okay, who do I have, right? And most people have Kareem over Olajuwon when you look at team basketball, right? Accolades, skill set, those types of things. When I break it down, though, and I look at individual players, I think Olajuwon is a more versatile scorer. I think he can shoot the mid-range. He's obviously guards went to him to learn footwork. Guards went to a 7'1" center to learn footwork. That's
just so you know, Tone, the sky hook was in the mid-range too. The sky hook it wasn't just on the box; it was in the mid-range too.
I've seen people shoot 3-point sky hooks. Like, yeah. But I'm just saying, like the traditional shooting.
Right.
When I think of defense, I think, well, Olajuwon's the better defender than Kareem. And so everything, when I look at as an individual stat, says Hakeem. The problem is this game's 11-10. Like if we're playing to 11 or 21, whatever it is, it's whoever gets the ball last wins the game. And the problem is, and I'm not knocking Olajuwon's athleticism, but even Olajuwon with his defensive prowess cannot stop the skyhook. No one can. I believe, just think about this. No one has taken more field goal attempts in the history of the NBA than Kareem. And it's been blocked once. Just think about that. In the history of the NBA, no one has taken more shots and this guy got blocked once. That's crazy. So I literally, I'm going to flip a coin because it's like I said, it's 21-20, it's 11-10, it's whatever we're playing to, and whoever gets the ball last. And I'm going to say Kareem, one, because he's a Laker, and two,
here we go. You know that was coming. You knew that was coming.
We knew it
was coming.
But I admit it. But two, I think his defense is very underrated. Olajuwon's still a better defender, but I think people don't realize, he could block, he could play defense.
Jabbar was an 11-time All-League defender. 11 times he made the All-League defensive team.
So I'm going with Kareem like in the tightest, maybe best matchup of the first round.
Yep.
But I mean, that's another one. I'd pay money to watch them play now. Geriatric skies.
Ball in 70. I don't know about that.
They still got it. They still got it.
Oh no. So.
Oh my. Well, we made it through the list. And honestly, some of those, it's crazy how they did match up because a lot of them were really good debates. My favorite was probably I like the Melo Harden one just because it was so split down the middle. But yeah, I mean, before we end and wrap up the show, tonight, Celtics, Miami. Any predictions, thoughts? Is Jimmy going for 40 again?
So
what can we expect?
Can I call an audible?
Oh yeah.
Because we did promise people a Jordan versus LeBron debate.
Oh yes.
Unfortunately, I don't know. Like, let me hear from the chat. I guess. Are you guys okay if we push that till Tuesday? Because it's either going to be a 5-minute discussion now, or we can just kick off the show on Tuesday and do the whole thing. Like, are you guys okay with that time?
I'm good with that.
You good with that? All right. So before we get into tonight's matchup, let me just say, so Tuesday, we're going to dedicate the show, and votes are already coming in saying Tuesday. So I appreciate that. Tuesday, we're going to dedicate the show to Jordan versus LeBron. So we're not going to get in the way. However, I'll set it up and tell you, Jay will be making the case for LeBron James. I will be making the case for Michael Jordan. Haley will be mediating, and then you guys will be voting based on what we do. All right. So sorry, go ahead. Take it away.
Haley was asking about tonight. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, still at home. So what do you see? I mean, are Celtics coming out on top tonight? And who do you think? I know the debate this whole time has been who has more to prove, whether it's Tatum or Jimmy. So who do you think is going to rise to that occasion tonight?
I think that we'll start the conversation with, I think it's going to be more competitive than it was. I don't see Jason Tatum turning the basketball over 6 times in a quarter. I think that they'll make the adjustments defensively. Now, I like what I saw from Miami because I think that they're a deeper team than Boston, even though I think Boston offensively, I think that they're better. Not top to bottom, but I think that they are better. But I think that Miami, because of their depth, I think that they hold serve tonight, and I do think that they come out on top.
Is Marcus Smart playing?
He is. He's going to go tonight.
I think you're going to see a much closer game. Like a much closer game. What are the odds that Butler goes 40 again? Probably low. You know what? I picked the Celtics to make the NBA Finals, so I'm going to say if it's an upset, I think the series, since a road team has to win a game for the series to start, I think the series starts tonight.
All right.
I think the series starts tonight. I think you're going to see, you mentioned Tatum kind of withering at the end.
Yeah.
If he's the superstar that we think he is, if he's the guy that's going to be, the face of the league, MVP contender, right? We keep saying now, I said it was next year, but when he made it into the Eastern Conference Final, I said, well, maybe this is his year. This is going to prove it. We're going to need to see, 30 plus from Tatum. We're going to see their best defensive effort. Look, we always give Miami credit for their defense, but the best defensive team this season was the Celtics.
Yes, they were.
Let's see it. Let's see it. Let's see you be the best defensive team, because we know you can hold Miami to like 85 points. Like they have those games in them.
They can hold you to that too, though.
They can hold. That's the problem.
They can hold you to 80. So, and a guy like Jaylen Brown, who he has a tendency to not get going early or get going early and then wither late. So that's going to also be a problem. But I'm interested to see how Boston comes out tonight. I want to see what kind of fire that they have tonight. I'm really interested to see that.
So Travis Lindsay, with the super chat, that 22-2 run that Miami went on in the third quarter can't happen. Exactly. No. You can't give up a 22 unless you go on your own 22-2 run. Yeah, they can't. Boston can't let that happen. Absolutely.
No, I think it's going to be good, and maybe even to see Tatum and Brown having a good game at the same time. I feel like that's so rare. It always has to be one or the other. But yeah, we'll see what happens. And I mean, unless you guys have anything else to discuss, any more closing thoughts?
I just want to say, look, this is episode 2 on this new format. 1, the chat, you guys are like incredible. Like now I know why, like when me and Shaq and Jay talked about bringing this over to Player's Choice, what he meant by, oh man, like the chat's going to be involved. I love this part of it. So I love it. So I know it was episode 2. We had some hiccups. I know. But Tuesdays and Thursdays, 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern, fingers crossed, there's no more tech issues. Like I'm really excited about what we're doing, and I look forward to winning the debate on Tuesday.
It's gonna be a good one for sure.
And that's it until Tuesday.
Take it light, but take it.
See you guys on Tuesday.